What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken, and today, guys, I am here to do a 4K review on one of the latest Paramount releases, The Truman Show on 4K. This is the 25th anniversary edition. There is a 4K in this. There is a Blu-ray. There's also a digital code. This releases on July the 4th. I was fortunate enough to get an early review copy in from Paramount, so I want to thank them for sending this over early. So yeah, I got a chance to watch this, and I'm going to talk about the movie itself for a little bit. I'm going to talk about the 4K picture quality. I'm going to talk about the features and the sound and all that good stuff that involves this release right here. So excited to get this one in. But before we do that, guys, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We talk about physical media here on this channel, 4Ks, Blu-rays, owning the movies that you love, all that stuff back there behind me every single day. So if you like that kind of thing, hit the subscribe button. Also, be sure to hit that like button and then comment down below what your thoughts on The Truman Show. It's one of your favorite Jim Carrey movies. Are you gonna pick up this 4K? Let me know in the comment section below. I will be linking a copy of this 4K down below. It is $19.99 right now, so it's not expensive at all. It's actually a really good price for a new 4K release. Let's go ahead and jump into this. The Truman Show. This is a movie, not a first time watch. I know a lot of times I get on here and I'm like, this is a first time watch, or I haven't seen this movie in years or whatever. This is actually a movie I try to make a point to watch like every 3 or 4 years. I love this movie. I think it holds up like so incredibly well. Like, they were so, like, this movie to me is like super ahead of its time. It's starring Jim Carrey, of course, directed by Peter Weir. It's got Ed Harris in it. It's got Laura Linney in it, who of course kind of blew up recently on the Ozark show on Netflix. It's got a fantastic cast, and the movie itself just gets better with age. Like, I feel like every time I watch it as I get older, I just find something different about it to love and enjoy. So this to me is one of the greatest movies of the 90s. It's for sure one of the greatest Jim Carrey movies. Like, I would say it's definitely top 5. I don't know if I could go top 3 or not. I love a lot of Jim Carrey movies. Jim Carrey at this point in his career, though, I don't know if a lot of people realize this, he was really heavy into the comedic stuff. Like, he was full on a comedy like star at this point in time. This came out in 1998. He had just done Liar Liar. He had done The Cable Guy, Ace Ventura movies, The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, like all that stuff within like a 3-year span. And then he was cast for this movie. They actually wanted him a couple of years before they could actually get him because he was booked up. So it's so incredibly smart, though, to cast Jim Carrey in this kind of role, because what this did for him in his career, I feel like, is once people saw him in The Truman Show, they started to see him like in an entirely different light. Like, he could still do the comedy. He could still do the goofy comedies, but he started to get dramatic roles. He was in Man on the Moon a year later. Of course, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. People started to realize that Jim Carrey was more than just a goofy, one-note comedic actor. Like, he could actually pull off the dramatic stuff very well. Like, he is fantastic in this movie as the character of Truman. And I just think it's just one of the best scripts. And like I said, it's so relevant today because you look at our lives now and it's like there's cameras everywhere. We all have cameras on us. We have our phones. And yes, we're not a part of any like type of reality show. Our lives aren't being filmed, but it is something you think about, especially after watching this movie. And then you start to interact with people in the world. And there are moments where it does feel like the world kind of revolves around you, that everything's happening to you. And you start to think to yourself after you watch this movie, is this person like a part of an act? Am I like on a reality TV show? This movie will get inside your head a little bit after you watch it. But so ahead of its time with the cameras being everywhere and just how we're all glued to our screens, addicted to our screens. You have the whole world watching this reality show. This guy that doesn't realize he's on a reality show. It's just such a cool premise and concept. And I just think it's one of the more like original scripts and movies that I've ever seen. I don't feel like anybody's quite tackled a movie like this or a concept like this since The Truman Show. There was that movie with Matthew McConaughey, Ed TV, but he knew he was on TV, and that kind of took place in the real world. It does something completely different. I love the way that the story's structured as well, because you're brought into this world with Truman, but you don't get like the full scope of what's going on until about halfway through the movie. You know what's going on, but you don't know quite on the scale that it's happening. So I love this movie so much. I think that everybody's great in this movie. Jim Carrey, this is one of his best performances for sure. Like I said, it's top 5 for sure. And I completely understand. If somebody said this is their favorite Jim Carrey movie, I completely understand it. Now, he still has that kind of whimsical Jim Carrey nature in the movie, but the fact that his character plays everything more straight, like he's not a cartoon character like he is in like Ace Ventura or The Mask or anything like that. He's more grounded in reality, kind of like his character was in Liar Liar. I feel like Liar Liar is like the perfect bridge between comedic Jim Carrey and dramatic Jim Carrey. In this one, he goes almost full dramatic, but there are some funny moments in this as well, but it's mostly a dramatic film, a dramatic science fiction film, I would say. But I was actually shocked at just how this film emotionally affected me. By the time you get to the end, and the score in this movie is so fantastic, and just the way that everything's directed, the way that everything comes together. And I don't want to spoil anything, guys, but when he walks out the door, in the end, I don't know, I just had some tears in my eyes. It's a very emotional movie. It's about this man's journey and discovering that his life is more than what he thought it was, and his freedom. Ultimately, at the end of the day, like, he is fighting for his own freedom, and what he has to go through in those last 30 minutes. It's just incredible. So I absolutely love this movie, guys. I recommend it. If you haven't seen The Truman Show, this is a must-watch movie from the 90s. I would say it's top 20 to me. It's probably top 20 movies of the 90s, at least top 30 movies of the 90s. There's a lot of great movies in the 90s. It's such a great movie, though. You got to see The Truman Show if you haven't seen it. But let's go ahead and jump into the 4K transfer of this movie. How does it look? Did they improve upon that Blu-ray? Now, one interesting thing to note is that all of the Blu-rays that I looked at, there was ones that came out in 2008, 2009, 2017, are all pretty expensive. Like, this 4K is actually cheaper than any of the Blu-ray prices right now on Amazon, at least. I don't know if you can find it anywhere else. So you got to go with it. If you want to own this in your collection, like, the 4K is actually the cheapest option to get this at this point. So, but the Blu-rays, again, the last one I think came out in 2017. I imagine that all the special features, there was nothing new that was added here. It came out in 2008, because when I was watching them, they seemed like they were pretty old, almost DVD era special features. Some of them could have came out on DVD. But getting into the 4K restoration here, this is a native 4K with Dolby Vision, HDR10. I thought this looked really good. I thought that Paramount did a really good job. Did it blow my mind? Not quite, but I thought it looked substantially better than the Blu-ray. I did pop in the Blu-ray. I did a little bit of a comparison between the two. It's definitely a lot crisper. It's a lot cleaner in its presentation. Almost a little too clean. The thing with Paramount is they go a little bit too heavy with the DNR sometimes, and that's their biggest criticism and complaints. And while that's not really noticeable all throughout the movie, I didn't really have an issue with it all throughout the film. There are some scenes at nighttime, in particular when he's talking with his friend on the docks. They're sitting on the pier, they're drinking their beers, and just the way that their heads looked, it almost looked like they were floating heads with a black background, and it looked just very glowy. So you could tell that there was a little bit too much DNR added in that sequence. But other than that, like, all the scenes in the daytime, like, it's a beautiful, like, pier-based coastal town, and all that stuff looked fantastic in 4K. All the visuals look great. Just, I'm thinking of that kind of grayish, I don't know if you say, like, grayish brown business jacket that Truman's wearing. When they have a close-up of that with him with the yellow shirt, like, all that stuff looks great with that HDR. You can really just make out all the details of that jacket. Like, you can see all the fibers of the jacket. That really looked great. That really stood out to me. I thought all the visuals overall looked good. It just had a real nice, like, clean presentation, some great facial detail. There's not a lot of, like, really flashy, colorful sequences in this movie where the HDR can really stand out, but across the board, just a really nice picture quality there. And I thought that what the HDR did with some of the outfits and some of the scenery really enhanced some things in the movie. So overall, I think this looks really good on 4K. It's not mind-blowing. It's not one of the best transfers that I've ever seen, but it's a lot better than the Blu-ray for sure. It's definitely the best it's ever looked. And like I said, this is the cheapest option that you can get this movie right now. So I highly recommend that you get this 4K for sure. I thought that Paramount did a really good job on it. I think you're going to be happy with this 4K overall. Now, getting into the sound here, this is where you get a really good upgrade as well, because the last time that this came out on Blu-ray, it was just a 5.1. They did do a Dolby Atmos track on this. There's the Dolby Atmos. There's also a Dolby True HD 7.1. They do have a German, French, and Japanese 5.1 sound setting. I thought everything sounded great, but the thing about this movie is it doesn't necessarily lend itself to that full like Dolby Atmos setup. Now there is a sequence that stood out like right in the beginning of the movie, like when that camera falls like right in front of him. You could hear the whistle of that camera falling. Like I heard it like right behind me. And I've just got the regular like soundbar setup with a subwoofer, but it does simulate the Dolby Atmos. So I did hear that whistling like right behind me. I heard it. I was like, what the hell's going on? And then the camera falls to the ground. So that's one thing that kind of stood out to me in the beginning. But pretty much through the whole movie, it doesn't really, in my opinion, require that Dolby Atmos setup until you get that sequence at the last 20 minutes where he's sailing in the storm in the ocean. And then you get all that loud noise from the thunder and the waves crashing, and all that stuff sounds excellent in Dolby Atmos. So I thought that the sound really got an opportunity to shine in some of those sequences at the end. So I really noticed a difference there. But overall, sound-wise, it sounded great. It just didn't really have that opportunity to really shine with that Dolby Atmos throughout most of the movie. But I know that most people, if you have that sound system, that full Atmos setup, you appreciate the sound upgrade regardless. Now, getting into the packaging right here, really nice slipcover. I really love it. It's perfect. It perfectly presents what this movie is. You got Truman on all the TVs. You got Ed Harris's character, who's kind of the creator of the reality TV show. He's standing in front of the TVs. So I think it looks really good. You got Jim Carrey at the top, the Truman Show. You got the 25th anniversary right there. You got the 4K Ultra HD over top of it. On the back, you got some nice images right there. Jim Carrey in the white suit. Right there, you got the synopsis of the movie up top. I'll kind of zoom in on that. And then we got special features right there. You got some other images, and then you got the specs down there at the bottom. And this movie is rated PG. It's a very clean film. Like, you could watch this with your family. And again, such an interesting movie and concept. Like, I cannot overstate this. If you haven't seen The Truman Show, you got to see The Truman Show. Such a good movie. And then we'll show off the case right there with the 4K banner at the top. We'll flip it over, and I'll zoom in on that. The main thing that they add here when you take the slipcover off is they usually put the casting list down there at the bottom. Everything else is mostly the same. Opening it up, you do get that digital code right here, and then you also get a Blu-ray and a 4K disc, which no artwork or anything like that, but that's pretty usual for the studios to not add artwork or anything. But I do appreciate the fact that they included both the 4K and the Blu-ray, and I just complained about this with the Vacation 4K. There's almost like no reflection in price, like either way. Like, they include both the 4K and the Blu-ray here, and the price is cheap. It's $19.99, and then the 4K Warner Brothers Vacation is $25.99. It's just, there's like no rhyme or reason to it, it feels like. Sometimes. So that does get a little bit frustrating, but like I said, you do have all the archival, supplemental, special features here. There's nothing new with this, but with the documentaries and the old like special features, they're all pretty great. So definitely go back and check those out. There's a 40-minute making of documentary with the cast and the crew. You got Jim Carrey, you got the director, you got Laura Linney, everybody talking about the making of this movie, Ed Harris as well. And then you got the Fox finishing, the visual effects of The Truman Show, deleted scenes, photo galleries. So there's all really good special features in here, but it's just, like I say, guys, this is the 25th anniversary of The Truman Show. Can you give me something new? Like, I see interviews with Jim Carrey all the time. Like, you can't tell me he wouldn't want to come back and talk about this movie. This has to be one of the most important movies in his career. And Laura Linney, like, come on, guys, give me new commentary, give me some new features. Like, how hard is it? I just don't understand, like, how hard it is to get new special features, I guess. Like, the boutiques do it all the time. Like, why can't the studios? But The Truman Show, guys, look, for the price, $19.99, I think this is a no-brainer. You pick this up. I absolutely recommend it. If you don't have it in your collection, it's actually the cheapest price point that you can find it at to get it on physical media. I don't know how much the DVD is, but Blu-ray wise, like, it's pretty expensive right now. So the 4K is actually the cheapest option. Again, I will link it down below in the description. But if you don't have this movie at all in your collection, get this movie, get this 4K. I absolutely recommend it. Such a great movie, one of the greatest movies of the 90s. It looks really good on 4K, good special features, nice packaging with the slipcover. So 100% recommend this release from Paramount. So thank you all so much for watching this review of The Truman Show. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment down below what your thoughts are on The Truman Show if you're going to pick up this 4K next week. Again, it comes out on July the 4th. Turn on those bell notifications and follow me on all my social media accounts. Those links are down below in the description, and we'll see you next time.